All right, so I want to welcome everybody to this initial presentation of what the renovation could look like. These are conceptual plans, meaning that they're kind of high level. You can't start construction tomorrow if we're all leave very excited and ready to go. There's still a lot more work to do, but this is a good point to sort of check in with everybody, let everybody see what's going on. There's, as you all know, a lot of work that's happened, many previous attempts, committees, care committee, the consensus project, a bunch of other things that happened even before those things. So all of that stuff has been filtered in to this project. I want to thank Jane, Marcia, and Pat for sort of being sounding boards for the architects while they were going through some of this activity and putting things together. Based upon the input of the care committee, there were two firms selected for them. One of them was Sweet Sparkman, which is the one that will be presenting today. We have with us today Todd Sweet and Nicole Crow, both from the firm. You can figure out Todd must be a principal of the firm. And maybe someday Nicole hopes to be one. I just want to thank them, thank you both for sort of putting this together, coming out this evening to go through this. We do sort of have a general agenda. We'll sort of look at, Todd and Nicole will take us through sort of what a high-level view of sort of like a great building would look like, what Embassy House might look like someday in the future, outside, inside, that sort of thing, just maybe very briefly. Most of the presentation will be on the interior, since that's what we're really looking at first out. So things outside are kind of just ideas. There shouldn't be anything that you don't like or anything in the outside that can all change. Even some of the things inside will be able to change as we work towards sort of finalizing the design, identifying the costs. And so everything that we're seeing today are kind of concepts, ideas. It will look like this pretty much when what you see today when we're finished, but the exact, tiles of the pattern in the floor, the height of the ceilings, all of those things are really up for change as the project progresses. So we'll then go through, look at the interior spaces here, which is basically the downstairs here, and what that could look like in the future. We'll go through a little bit of cost. Again, all the costs, we did have a professional contractor come and estimate the cost. He used real subs that he often works with. Many of them came here to look at various components that they would be bidding on in the future. The costs that we got were not bids. They were sort of, a good example was, I was joking before, as you can see that's a little crooked, was the floor was not level, and so we'd have to level the floor. We don't really know how much that costs to level the floor at this point until you dig it all up and sort of figure it out. So there's an estimate in there. It probably will be less. Some things might be a little more. So we don't want to get, when we get to that part of the presentation, no need for joy that that's all it came in at, no need for strife that it was a little higher than you thought. Those things kind of get worked through as the design progresses. So we're sort of at the right point for yep, this is generally what it's going to cost. We have a hard, right, everybody knows there's no more than a $10,000 assessment per unit. So we're still, we're building this out within those guidelines. And so again, there'll be a little discussion on the cost and where the big ticket items are. And then finally, we'll have a question and answer period where you can ask Todd and Nicole some questions if you have any. Keep them to questions as opposed to just general comments, or I make some general comments, of course. But we do want to kind of focus their time on questions that you might have. This all is being recorded, and so for people that couldn't make it today, we'll eventually post this on the Embassy House website and you can watch it. You can watch it there, and people that didn't make it can also watch it there again. So with that, I'll turn it over to Todd and Nicole, and then we'll let them take it from here.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank everybody. My name is Todd Sweet. I'm an architect here, a local architect in Sarasota. Our office is right on Main Street, and we've been practicing here for about 15 years. And we do a lot of local projects, mostly in Sarasota, Bradenton, Charlotte County. So this is our backyard. This is where I work. This is where I live. This is where I raise my kids and I play. So this is all very important to me. And I came to town in 1995, and I have to say that this building has always appealed to me because it's handsome and it's timeless. And so when I was, back last year when I was contacted by the Embassy House, we had to think hard about working for a condominium association, as you can imagine, but the building is so special. And I want you to know that we're not here to try to make changes to the building. We're not going to present anything that's swooping or something that's not in keeping with the original design intent. I mean, the building is handsome. It's sort of mid-century modern, although it dates back to 1975. But those are the characteristics that we want to take forward when we sort of improve the lobby and improve some of the common areas. So I'm a big fan of this architecture. It's one of the reasons why I moved to Sarasota, because it's a great place to be a professional architect. So, and this is a great example of mid-century modern architecture. We also studied our consensus project, and we wanted to make sure the things that were important to you. We know that there's prices that we're going to present that ultimately homeowners will have to pay for. So we wanted to be very responsible, we want to be conscientious, and make sure that we do things that you want us to do. You know, some of these things that you noted that you found to be very important were the lobby, the common areas, the flooring. Make sure the flooring is easily cleaned and not so much maintenance. The ceiling, make sure a ceiling that is not visually clean. Furnishings, contemporary or more modern, in keeping with the original character of the building. We made a couple of minor suggestions we're going to show you that we think will enhance what you have here, which is really a great location. I mean, you walk into the lobby and you have a view of the water. You're here, you're so close to downtown, but we want to capitalize on the water view as well. But these are the things that we really followed, and we tried not to sway from these, because we know that there's going to be cost impacts with what we present. So this is the existing floor plan right now. We are in here, in this room here. And what we noticed, the first thing that we did was really look at the property as a whole. Before we get into really start working in the lobby and the areas that were going to be the first phase of the project, we wanted to look at the project holistically. And some of the things that we thought we would do is look, you've mentioned this in your consensus project, the covered area, probably painting that, so it didn't look like so much of an addition, but it started to look like it was part of the original building. The connection, right now it's a little bit temporary, it looks like, so we want to do something more permanent. The connection from the carport to the north side where everybody comes in. And then we look to capture and make better use of the pool deck and this grass area here, right outside here, which is really underutilized right now. And we would propose that maybe someday we turn this into an area which can be used for exercise, sunbathing, sunsets. So this could really be a more functional multi-purpose area. We also saw, that's my New York, excuse me. We also saw the opportunity to get some outdoor seating, which would sort of connect the inside to the outside. Once again, another thing is that we wanted to make sure the whole project is universally accessible. So we wanted to make sure that we had access from the lower deck to the upper deck. So we're also providing a ramp here to access from the lower here to the upper here with an outdoor kitchen. So these are all things, before we really started studied the interior of the space, we wanted to make sure we were looking at it holistically. Landscaping was also something that we looked at too, and we would propose that maybe we do improvements to landscaping out here, in the drop-off area at the wall, and we spent a day with Barbara Mims, and we walked the site, so we feel like we better understand what works here at Embassy House, what doesn't work, and maybe some ideas for future landscaping, maybe some landscape which complements the architecture. So this would be a view, an aerial view from the west. This is the existing pool. Perhaps in the future we do improvements to the pool. Perhaps we add a spa. Perhaps we have an area here with grass where we can do yoga or sunset or just a multi-purpose space so we can capture the use of that. We're also looking to enhance the security. Maybe we provide a gate and a fence along here. Maybe there's a glass rail here, so we get views across. The road here is lower, so you'll get unobstructed views across to the sunset, to the water. So that's what we would propose. Here's that seating that's at an upper level, but in the same level as the lobby. And then this is the connection that we're proposing. This connection we would propose would be very similar to the connection on the east side of the building, the carport you have right now, which is very straight, sort of mid-century. There's no swooping curves or anything like that. It's all very orthogonal, which is very indicative of the mid-century modern style. So we would suggest that we try to take the architecture that was originally done and sort of match it with some of the other amenities that we're proposing. Once again, in the future, this is just something that we looked at when we started the project. Like I said, we met with Barbara, we toured the landscaping. We know what works, what doesn't. We know it's a harsh environment here because of the wind at your location. But we would also suggest that maybe we start looking at some other plantings. We know that variegated ginger works very well. We know lady palm works very well. But we would propose that, and we have some planters which were more indicative of the mid-century modern style of the building is. So these are just some suggestions. So we're going to talk now. We've talked a little bit about the property as a whole. Now we want to get into the lobby, into the common areas. Once again, we're back to the existing floor plan, and here. And one of the things that we saw in your consensus report was you wanted to have a clean, open, modern feel. And we thought the greatest attribute, when the first time I came in here, was the view directly to the west. And we thought what was really pinching that view were these rooms here. Because when you walk in, you've got this open space, but then it narrows down very quickly with what is the kitchen, which we came to realize maybe underutilized kitchen, and then a storage room. You know, we can always find a better place for a storage room. And then there was this area here which was not used at all. That's your pool bath, which you did a nice renovation on this, but this area is right now vacant. We're going to take over that space and utilize that space, and we think we could move some of this space into here, and the idea is really to open the lobby up, make the lobby feel much more open than it is right now. And I think we can do that with just maybe removing some rooms and finding other locations for them, or making them just slightly smaller rooms that you don't utilize as much. This is a floor plan, and the red dashed lines show what those spaces were that you had, and we're going to open that up. We would propose to open that up and create, maybe move the reception so it's not right on you when you walk through the door, and it's floating a little bit so you can see past it. And then we have more seating areas, just informal seating areas. So that would become your view. If you see the red lines, your view would really capture all that glass which is currently here. So when you walk in, you're immediately going to see the water and the sunset, you know, and everything, instead of looking at the back of the kitchen. So that's, right now, that's, and I know that's hard to see, but right now, if you look through that glass, that area here is the kitchen, and this area here is the storage room. And you get very little view of the outside to the west. What we would propose is that that's the same view, your same angle. Here you're coming up the stairs, and here you're coming up the stairs. We removed all this, and we removed all that, and now that's what we really want you to see, is the view across the storefront that's here. What else we would propose is to change the flooring material. Although I like polypebble gives you a look of a dated look. And I think the other thing we want to do is we want to go from inside to outside. That's a real tenement of the Sarasota School of Architecture, is that you try to blur the lines from the inside and the outside, so you feel like your view, and your experience is going from in to out. And that's what we're going to propose, is that we would take the flooring and we would run it outside to the east side here. So the other thing, we would propose some new landscaping. You can see some potted plants, sort of like what we showed you in some of the previous renderings of the landscaping, reception area, and then some furniture suggestions. Some artwork to warm up the space, but once again, going back to the consensus that you provided us, is that a flooring material, which is easy to maintain, and we're going to show you some samples later, and a ceiling, which is as clean as we can possibly make it, by really trying to hide air conditioning ducts, really trying where lighting can go to make sure it's evenly lit, and we've got a consistent lighting pattern, and we don't have various styles of lighting. So to create a really clean floor plane, really clean ceiling plane. But everything else is the same. Railings are the same. We are going to propose also, this is a sliding door system. So we're also going to propose that we put a little money for access control for security and also for sliding doors. So this way, you don't have to open a door in a shopping cart. The other thing you may notice is that the floor elevation from the inside and the outside is a little bit different by about an inch or an inch and a half. So every time you come in with your shopping cart, it makes a loud noise. We would propose that we make the floor on the inside and the outside the same level. There's a cost to do that, but it's a huge feeling when you're going from inside to the outside. You don't have to step up an inch and a half and pull luggage and carts up as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you another view. Now we're standing sort of in the hallway back here, and we're going to look across here. We're going to remove the kitchen, and we're going to tuck a new kitchen here on the other side. But that is the view right now. Once again, it's really protruding out into the space, and we're going to suggest that we cut it back a little bit. So you really can, once again, capture the glass, and then we would suggest that we do something very low maintenance and really durable on this volume here. Sort of an accent treatment on this wall here. So this is a new storage room. This is the elevator. This is the door to the fitness room, which we're going to propose becomes a glass door to allow a little bit more light and make it feel less claustrophobic in the fitness area. We're also going to suggest that we clad the columns as well, just to give it a more durable material. We also see that we're also like to do, we're going to suggest that maybe we do a little bit of detailing around the columns, and maybe around this as well. Your consensus report suggested that if we can raise the ceiling in here, that would be ideal. It's unlikely we will be able to raise the ceiling, because there's a lot of stuff above this, and the structure is really not that much higher. But I think if we can really give the impression that this volume goes up, that's what we're going to try to do. So little details like that will help giving volume to the space if we cannot capture that additional volume. You'll see here, this is the door on the north side. We're also proposing to change that door as well. There was a question, I think, previous, is that if we go ahead and we change the door, do we have to bring everything else up to code? And the answer is that we only have to bring up to code where the structure is, where the structure starts and ends at that opening. So we don't have to bring the whole building, all the glass in the building up to code. We do not have to do that. This is another view. Now we're standing where I am and we're looking back towards you. So we're going to look at the reception area and also that space which was the restroom, which is now vacant right now or not occupied. That's where we're going to put a little conference area. So that is what I'm looking at now without you in it. And that is what we would propose. So this is a sort of a floating reception area. This is the backdrop for the reception. And Nicole has been doing a lot of research. And this is actually your stair tower design. So if you look on the east face of the building, which is, once again, a lot of mid-century architecture. You just showed me an article recently about celebrating a lot of block. They use block in decorative ways, just the way you do on Embassy House. And we would propose that we take that same design and we bring it on the inside as well. And in fact, they're starting to make modular systems like this that we would propose as a backdrop to the reception area. Once again, bringing the outside in, changing out all the floor tile, wrapping the columns, doing artwork in selective locations. And this is the entry to the, which will be the new conference area, which will be glass, once again, a glass wall we would recommend, just to make, because you can feel how sort of tight the space is. If we can make the other spaces on the other side a little bit more transparent with glass walls, the space is going to feel so much larger than it is. So that's our plan. But this all remains the same, all this glass. In fact, that right there is what that is right there. We're not proposing to do anything here. We would propose maybe doing different shades here. Right now we're proposing Mecco shades, which can come down and go up. So once again, giving you unobstructed views to the west. So I'm going to show you a view standing here and looking back this way, because once we remove the kitchen, we need to find a new place for it. So we're proposing that we just do a bar top, which will have a sink, which will have a refrigerator, microwave, but we make it all part of this wall feature. So that is what is there now. And that is what we would propose, is that this kitchen could essentially disappear when you're not using it, and then you can open up and use it when you need it. So I'll take a stab at this, Nicole, and you can fill in. So when Nicole was looking at furniture and lounge seating, you'll see we looked at a lot of Florence Knoll. Florence Knoll was a furniture designer in the 50s, mid-century modern furniture, beautiful furniture. And some of the furniture that you have there, some of the benches, we actually tried to reuse, and we're going to, in some of the images. So the bench that we're showing here is actually the bench that you have. We would recommend that we strip it down, we refinish it, we put new padding on it if we need to, but we're going to, that's a beautiful piece of furniture. The other furniture, is just simple, modern furniture that we hope will be stylistic, for years to come. It doesn't really fall out of style. And that's what's so nice about Knoll Furniture. So Knoll Furniture is beautiful, but there's other manufacturers that are in the same style as mid-century modern furniture, other than just Knoll. So these are the pieces that we're recommending that you use, and right now, we're going to go through a little bit about a budget and a little bit later and show you the cost. Right now, we just have an allowance for furniture. But everything that we're showing you, we believe we can do with an allowance amount, which we will show you. So the furniture in the conference room. Anything you want to hit upon here, Nicole? And in the social room. And before we get to cost, I want to just make sure that we kept the mail room and the mail slots in the same location. So we didn't touch that. It appeared on the consensus is that it was fine where it's at, and we know that that room serves multi-purposes. It does the mail room, but we will also propose that maybe we put a social seating in there as well, so we can utilize that space a little. So that all remained the same. Manager's office remained the same with the exception of new flooring and new ceilings. This is the conference room, which seats 6 to 8 people. There's a storage room in there. And there's a storage room here as well. So we took the restroom and we moved it back a little bit. Restroom is a little bit larger than it needs to be, quite honestly. So we're going to redo the restroom and make it a little bit smaller. We're going to try to correct some of the issues that we have with the restroom right now. And there's the kitchenette. And on this wall here, we would recommend a piece of furniture with a television above. So next time we don't have to bring our screen with us. The fitness room stays. We would do new floor surface, new ceiling, and we would make this a glass wall and a glass door. And this would also be a glass wall and a glass door. So the idea is to capture all of this space, make it all feel like it's all open.
Todd, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just might want to mention that you had the constraints of those walls that could not be moved
Right.
in terms of trying to capture any other space.
That's a good point. So right now, this is a shear wall. This is a part of the structural system for the tower. So we looked at putting openings in this wall, we looked at moving things, but that wall is just going to be far too expensive for us to do anything with. So we kept that in place. This is a plumbing wall. And that may also be a shear wall as well, so that was too expensive. So we're really trying to limit, we're trying to grab the low-hanging fruit to make the improvements. Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road. This is so what we did. And what we do in a lot of our projects, because we want to make sure we're being real, we're being honest, and we're being responsible in terms of what we design. We don't like to design in vacuum, so we work with a construction manager that does primarily commercial construction. So it's not just a residential contractor, but it's somebody who knows what we will need to do because you're a commercial building in terms of permits, in terms of mechanical, in terms of electrical, so all that is in here. And that person even went out, that contractor went out to their subcontractors. So they got real bids from mechanical, from electrical, flooring, even the blinds. They're all kind of really hard numbers. So we want to make sure that we're being realistic. Even if it's a little painful, we want to make sure so we can cut things if we need to. So these are the numbers that we put together. We try to put them in a category so you can see, what is what. in terms of, each of the divisions. It goes from demolition, walls and casework, all the doors, frames, glass, hardware, which does include some costs for access control and security. The flooring, the ceilings, the wall finishes, so some of the nice wall finishes you saw, wrapping the columns, and this whole volume here is included in this price. The flooring, we've actually changed, we went back and forth with the flooring. Nicole's got very good, expensive taste. So Nicole worked in getting this price down a little bit on the flooring. But the flooring also includes quite a large number in it, because we're going to have to remove the flooring and probably remove the mud set, which is going to be incredibly labor intensive. And we don't know exactly what we need to do, but we put a number in there because we want to make sure we cover it and there's no surprises. The general requirements, those are all the fees that general contractor has. They could be his superintendent, his project manager, but it also includes all the safety and temporary walls in trying to do a common area renovation in a condominium building which needs to remain functional and operational. So the plan is that if we have a 4-month construction period, they will provide temporary protection so you can get in and out of your elevators and you can get up to your unit. So we wanted to make sure we provided all those fees in there, and there's going to be, once again, no surprises later. We've got some equipment, we've got some appliances, which we showed you here. We're going to have mechanical, we're going to have plumbing. When we remove the ceiling, we don't know exactly what we're going to find. We want to make sure we've got some money in there based on historical knowledge, based on what we've done in the past. We even got a number for window treatments. So the total of everything that we showed you is just a little bit over $600,000. And then we added another 10% contingency just in case we didn't have everything in there, because we're so early in the design that we really have not gone through schematics and design development and permit. We don't know what the city is going to require that we do once we do a building. If we're going to need to bring other things up to code, sometimes they'll spring on fire alarms, so we wanted to make sure we cover and have 10% in there for that. And then you're going to have whatever architect you choose, whatever engineer you choose, you're going to have fees for that firm. And then we did allowance of $60,000 based on furnishings, some rugs, and some of the images we show rugs and carpet, but we'll have area rugs. We may have some art, so we want to make sure that we have an allowance for all of that as well. So when we add those, the total budget is $788,000. And I will tell you that this is a conservative budget. We're not trying to give you a lowball number. This is a conservative number. It includes the sliding doors, it includes the walls, it includes the floors, it includes the ceilings.
And so that, let me just add, so that is the cost. That's not necessarily how it gets funded. If you're really good at math, you can divide that number by 69 and realize that it's more than $10,000. But remember, we have reserves that we've already contributed towards, like for things like flooring. We have a lot of money in that. There's about, I believe, I looked, and I was easily able to identify $120,000 of reserves that we have available for things like that are obvious: flooring, lighting, doors. I didn't include anything. We have a lot of money. You mentioned if we have to do something with the fire protection in the building, we have a lot of money reserved for those sorts of things. So some of that would come out of that. So this isn't the funding conversation. This is just the cost part of the conversation. And so over time, and so if you take the $120,000 and subtract from that, that worked out to be like $9,500 a unit for the assessment. So, and we're still not done, right? We still have to go through, understand what's in these numbers some more based upon the final design, what the actual bids for all of these things are, what's really in reserves, and we'll have a group of folks, a committee or some, we might call it a committee, that will help figure out exactly how we should fund this. With what's coming out of reserves, what's going to be part of the assessment. So again, this is just the cost, and within that, we're still good, basically, like I said, at 9,500, and hopefully it comes in even a little less than that. So we did do that check to make sure we were still on track.
And I can answer any questions on that, but in case anybody was wondering, well, how long would it take? So we also provided you a sort of a preliminary schedule of what you could expect such a project would take. Right now, we are showing 3 months for design to get to a permit submission. And then we're showing 2 months for a permit. It should actually take a month, but the city is really, as you drive around, you can see the city is swamped right now. It's really, really difficult to get a permit. So once again, we're being conservative when we're planning on 2 months for a permit. And then based on what the pricing, what the contractor told us, it's not necessarily the contractor that's going to do the work, but any commercial contractor would say that they could, I think 4 months is a reasonable time frame for what we're showing. So that is 9 months, approximately, if everything goes as planned. So I'm answer any questions. I want to thank you, and I can answer them.
I have several questions for you. I like some of the things you have done very much, but I have some questions. You mentioned that we were going to have, or proposed, a central console that we'd be able to see the 3 doors. On that console, will we have a way of intercom and opening and closing those doors?
Yes.
Okay, that was one thing that was important.
We talked about access control, and we do have access.
Okay, on the north entrance, about, I suppose, 90% of our traffic comes through the north from the parking lot and exits that way. And that will be a sliding door also. One of the problems that we have faced is contractors bringing in things and find that the door that exists currently is a little tight for them and they bump into it. Will the sliding door be wider access than what we currently have?
No. But we do have other door options. We can do a folding swing door with a push button. And the other thing too is right now, if you look, this area right here, there's a little tiny column there. We are going to see if we can get rid of that little piece. And actually, the estimate does include some money to get rid of that little column so we can make it as wide as we possibly can. And if we need to really make it wide, we would probably suggest we go with double swing doors.
Because currently we have 2 doors that we can open
Right.
should we need to, and sometimes that's important.
And if we need to make it wider, there is a chance that we can make it maybe 6 or 8 inches wider by removing that little column piece.
That entrance is probably, as I said, used by more people than any other entrance that we have. And I feel we need to make that as desirable or as attractive as we possibly can. And I think you mentioned perhaps planters on each side or something. I'd like that to be considered. One thing that concerns me right now is the area in which we're meeting, and I didn't hear that this was addressed. Maybe I missed it. Right now, anyone walking into our building over here can hear everything that goes on at this meeting. Sometimes we have board meetings that have very sensitive information that we don't want to share. At other times, people plan, let's say, dinners or whatever. I planned a dinner with my partner about 2 years ago, and we had about 16 people. It was actually a lunch. We had people walking in from the pool. We had people coming in from this way, so there was no privacy. Is there a way to somehow close this off for sensitive meetings?
There is. We actually had our earlier scheme where we had a wall here and a wall here, but it does come at a premium. It does come at a price. And didn't know if the instances where you do use that, would be worth the investment to do that. So that is something that we've heard, we've explored. There's a premium price to it, and maybe that's something we want to consider if we.
Right now, we've been pretty lucky, I haven't heard anything, but
Yeah.
oftentimes we have people that don't know there's a meeting going on here, and it can be very disruptive, especially for people who are sitting toward the back of the room. You mentioned a new kitchen, and you mentioned refrigerator and microwave kind of thing. I'm assuming what you showed us, that the refrigerator will be half the size of what we currently have.
Right now, we're showing a full-size refrigerator.
A full-size refrigerator. Okay. One of the questions that often came up was that we have tables in here as they exist right now, and we have people eating here during regular hours. When the new kitchen is designed, is there space or entrance that people can access that kitchen rather than just from this main room? And would there be eating space for, let's say, like a contractor or somebody on staff?
Yeah, that is, no, right now, the way it is right now, you would walk through this space to get to the kitchen.
So anyone wanting to get to the kitchen has to come through any meeting that's being controlled or conducted here.
Correct.
If they were going to do that, right?
But
That's the way it is now.
that's the way it is now, but that's not a good way. One other thing I have. Was there anything designed, you mentioned leveling the floor when carts come in, grocery carts. Is there any place that has been designed for storage of those grocery carts?
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're storing the carts out here right now. We have room here, and we're designing a screen, which is included in the price, to put those carts behind.
So there will be a spot for that?
Yes.
Okay, and I just had one other question. Have you designed other condominiums in the Sarasota area with renovations like this?
We were involved in Courthouse Center, which is downtown. Recently, we have not been involved in renovations to condominiums, but we've done quite a bit of renovations.
Some of the things that I mentioned, as you said, they're going to cost more than that $10,000. How do we find out if people are interested in those additions?
That's probably something that Scott and the facilities committee would probably spearhead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, young lady in the back.
Thank you. I was wondering if part of the budget included a project manager to oversee the work. It seems like our wonderful staff here is quite busy already keeping up with all of this. And I just wondered who is going, and where is it in the budget, the person that's going to execute this?
Yeah, it includes a project manager for the contractor as well as for the architect. So there'll be project managers for both of those disciplines.
And will they be on site every day? Or?
Well, this also includes a superintendent who will be on site and a project manager. I would say the superintendent would be on site, the project manager probably not. Not as often as the superintendent.
Thank you.
Yes?
First of all, just comment, I really like the plan, like the design. A little disappointed that we can't have a bigger fitness room, but I get it with the wall. I think, you've come in on target and with a nice design.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Agree. Go back to the kitchen area. Now, you say you're gonna have a refrigerator in there. Unless you're gonna be building it out and taking away from floor space in here, that is the elevator shaft right there. You're not gonna go anywhere with that, and back there, for recessing purposes. So, you're gonna lose floor space, you're coming in, correct?
No, the refrigerator is right there. So if you've ever seen a...
So you're gonna go through, the bathroom is right there.
Well, here's the
So
bathroom.
we just filled in a hallway that was,
Yeah.
and and there.
So
So that you're gonna have,
I'm only going in 2 feet. Really, this is 2 feet. It's just basically a bar top. So we're not walking into a kitchen. The kitchen will be there on that wall, accessible from this room. Yeah, it's not in a room. It's really,
It's along that
it's
wall.
along that wall, but it's recessed in that wall 2 feet.
that wall is the back of the elevator shaft. And the bathroom.
That's the bathroom.
Yeah, we are taking, there's 2 feet here that we're adding onto the back of the elevator shaft. Right there.
And it was regular refrigerators don't fit in there.
They make
Counter depth.
counter depth refrigerators.
I see what Jack's saying. In that corner, that might be part of, might be part of the elevator thing. So that we might have to, at the end, adjust
Yes. Well, this is out of it.
out a little bit. Right, well, that's what it showed on the plans anyway, right? And so again, it's sort of that concept discussion that we sort of, I think that's the point we're at, is, right, yes, that's the design, that's our plan. If it turns out that when you knock, it's way before you actually knock into the wall, of course. But if it really turns out that you can't put that there, that's going to have to change a little bit. Maybe that kitchen is a little shorter. Maybe the refrigerator is a smaller one. I mean, we don't use the refrigerator and all that
Well,
stuff.
you've got a number on one.
Right,
Yeah, like if this needs to move over here.
right. Maybe the back of the storage closet is a little shorter. So it's those kinds of things, but that's what I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Those 4 white boxes on this side of the grassy area in the back, so where you're standing, is that going to be extended out? Is that going to have seating on the outside?
Not in this phase, that is part of the larger big picture, that's what we would propose, but it's not part of this project. When we're
The
looking,
green space is really a wasted space. We don't use it for anything. And
Right.
it's kind of a shame.
yes, I agree.
So are we going to replace these windows here to make them up to code because they're not now?
No.
We don't have to.
We don't have to. We would replace that piece. Yeah,
Gotta ask a question. Why don't you push this out?
because it's a lot of money to do that. And we can, and we did it originally,
Yeah.
but we came in, it was quite expensive to do that. There was a lot of things that we looked at, we tried, like making it more private with some other walls, which you may choose to do, but it all comes at a premium and more cost. So if that's something that I think the building committee would take as far as suggestions, if you wanted to spend more money than what we're currently budgeting. But I think those are all suggestions which come with cost.
I'm just curious about pushing out that area where you have the extra seating, because I believe that gives us all extra living space, a space where we can get out of our condo. And so I'm wondering if, in your proposal, if you're able to add how much extra some of these options might cost.
Yes. We can do that.
Excuse me, I think to have that space where the 4 X's are, the outdoor tables, that, I think you looked at it 2 ways. One would be access right through here, right? Like
Yes.
sliding doors that open up and you go to that, or access through the current door that we have, and it's strictly outdoor space. It has nothing to do with the inside space, right?
Correct.
So again, those are just to the point. There are a number of options of how to utilize that space.
Yeah, we looked, right now they have it's called a nano wall system, which this whole wall can really retract and fold and come back, and this can all be open to the outside. I mean, wow, it's gonna be great, but really expensive, very expensive. And then the other option is to leave them all in place and just go through the existing doors. So there's a lot of things that we can study and price for you. You know, they all come with different price tags.
Does the access ramps there, does that take away from where the grill and stuff is right now?
Yes. Well, excuse me, I think the grill is over here. No. I think the grill is here, actually.
No,
Yeah.
the grill is just,
Is it here?
yes.
Okay, then the answer is yes.
Where you go to?
Yes, because we're going to take that area, that grill, and this becomes the outdoor kitchen, the grill, and this becomes that seating.
What happens to the fuel storage tank that's out here?
Yes, you've got a LP gas and you've got a condenser unit, and we would relocate those.
But that's all phase two, right?
That's all phase two, correct. That's all part of the long-term plan.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think you've done a fantastic job of sticking within the budget that we said is our top, and giving us an awful lot. And although some people have some good thoughts for tweaks, I think, and I, for one, would also love to see the outdoor deck out here in some way, but to get what we, to stay within the budget, which was the vote of last year as our max, you have done that with a contingency. And that was the task, and you've done a lot with that. And I'm excited. I think this is great.
I guess I would encourage the building committee to move forward quickly because inflation might kick in and the $10,000. The $10,000 is not indexed for inflation, so if your hard cap is $10,000, you better move quick.
And that's a really good point, because a lot of times estimates come with a contingency, and they also come with escalation. And right now, the market is crazy, and it's hard to predict where pricing is going to be. The contractor that we chose to do this estimate is doing a lot of work, and they work with subs that continually work with them. So I think it's even, we feel comfortable that we're giving you a reliable estimate. Yes.
I'd like to say too, I think, between you and the three people who represented the building, I think you did a very nice job, doing the lobby, and I just hope, just to echo other people that, we just move ahead with it. And I think the contingencies down the road, whether we expand or do whatever, I think once the lobby's done, which is, I think, what people want done, because that's what everybody sees first, and then to look at, do we want to expand out, talking about the port, the portico out off the north end and so forth, yes, definitely needs a lot of work after and so forth, but I think there's a lot of good plans for people to keep talking about year after year to keep expanding the plan. I think Barbara did a lot, I like the idea of those pots, I think they're beautiful for the plantings and so forth, so hopefully we can at least get the lobby going now so we can get it done and then start looking at our next projects.
Yes.
Just like to say thank you for considering our needs so importantly in this design and coming in within budget. Thank you very much. Let's move ahead.
I say congratulations to our committee.
Floor?
Lauren, yeah, well, we have pictures and stuff, so we don't, what about the floor?
Oh, no, I just thought you had a separate.
Oh, yeah, so we'll leave all that,
do.
right, so we'll
Yeah,
let.
so we brought renderings, so what is the renderings that you saw, we have easels. We do have some samples here, so we can leave them behind if you want to leave them in the lobby.
Yeah, we can set up for a
Could
little
you
while.
tell us a little bit about them, like,
Nicole.
Yes,
the-
Nicole will get that.
the care of them? Are they easy care? Do they last a long time? Somebody told us a home floor would last a long time, and it, nobody told us that it would get holes in it because of our parts.
So this is is the flooring, it's exterior rated, so it can go inside, outside, it's commercial grade, so this is what was
Could
on
you
the
speak a
floor.
little louder, please?
Louder.
Way louder.
So this is the flooring that was in the lobby, exterior and interior, and it's also on the walls that was on that main volume. This is the veneer that goes on the reception desk. This was the paneling that goes on that volume, what covers the kitchen, and then it also covers the other side where the invisible doors are. This was the laminate that we showed in the furniture for the tabletops, which also goes well with the veneer that's on the wall. This is the material that goes on the columns for cladding. And then these are just some colors for the furniture upholstery.
Can you talk about the flooring, just, durability or?
This is porcelain tile, so it's very durable. It's exterior rated, so when you go into the second phase, if you wanted to use this, it's good to use in wet surfaces, entrance, ramps.
It'd be larger sizes.
It'll be large. Yep, this is 12 by 12, but we have 12 by 24 in our renderings, which helps carry your eye through the space a little bit better than the squares.
Will that go in the elevators also?
Yes, that's what it is. Yes, so right now, we have not addressed the interior of the elevators. It's not included in the pricing. I've heard it from several people that we probably need to do that, but it's not, we did not provide that in the pricing, the interior of the elevators. Let's hope it's within the 10% contingency.
It's a small, not much floor.
But you know what, something that you will have to do is you will have to rebalance your elevators, because even an inch and a half, taking off your, even if we come down an inch and a half here, we need to reset your elevators, so your elevators are now flush with the new.
Well, the elevator's not flush with the current floor because
So we might be okay there,
it
right?
goes down and then back up, so this will make it better.
It already has stone on it.
I mean, porcelain is probably one of the most durable materials. It's, the color's consistent throughout. It's really durable, but it's also price competitive, so this is why we chose it. And they also make porcelain in very large sheets, so we can do porcelain. If you ever want to do an outdoor kitchen, it can be done in porcelain. The reception desk can be done in porcelain, so it's a very durable, and they make porcelains now, which really start looking like stone. It's really
So you
important.
can't scratch it?
Can't scratch it.
What about
Yeah, don't challenge me, because it's.
how is porcelain in wet or damp, like on the front steps?
Yeah, so that is rated for exterior.
Is it
So,
slippery?
no, because it has to meet a coefficient of friction, so it's not slippery. So we will bombard you with samples if you'd like. We can show you. We'll let you guys pick the texture of the porcelain.
What is the reception desk? I'm sorry. You said,
Right now, it's porcelain and wood veneer is what we're showing in the room.
oh,
Todd, this has no landscaping in it. That's right. Now, when we get to another phase, if we get to another one, I've always been a little concerned about the space that is east of the sidewalk on this side of the building.
Yes.
And the city has, the utility, somebody has conspired to put all the hardware on that little strip of grass. And it's a very, very ugly contrast with the rest of South Palm Avenue. Is there any possibility in a subsequent phase of working with the city, or would the city be hard to deal with if we wanted to do something to that patch of city ground?
So it's in your right of way. It's on public land.
Yes.
I think you can take that up with the city. I think the city has been actually pretty receptive to right-of-way improvements, so it's worth asking. And, you know, we did, the Barbara showed us that whole area in front of the wall, which is great. That wall out there that goes in and out is a great part of the architecture of the building. It's also, we've got landscaping there. Now, we did, I believe you have a separate budget for landscaping, so I think there would be some landscaping as part of the initial phase. We would like that. So it would be, but it's part of a separate budget that I understand. Zach may be able to speak to that a little bit more. But I would definitely approach the city about that and
Thank you.
So if,
I have a question for Scott on this. You know, we're going to have a lot of questions before the
Right.
next meeting. Is there a vehicle or is there a method that we have to submit questions that then you can come back and we answer, we can hear other people's answers too? I mean, there's questions just back here about asbestos and stuff. So is there a way we can, a vehicle that we could just put questions on paper that you could then?
So right, you can either, right, so if you could ask some of them now, others we can send a note to Bobby, she'll compile a list, and then we can sort of get through those. Some of those things, remember, this is still the concept. So, right, we do know that, like you said, sometimes there's asbestos in the ceiling, sometimes there's not. We sort of have, there is actually something in there for a small amount of asbestos removal.
Well, see,
So those sorts of things, but again, the price, so yeah, send it to Bobby, ask the
That's
questions,
the way, okay.
she'll get them
Could we
to us,
have what
we'll
other
filter them
people
through.
asked too and the answers then? Sue?
Yeah, well, we'll assemble all of the
Right.
questions.
but if you
Right,
have,
use the website.
if anybody's still have a
Right.
question for the architect now, that would both be cost efficient and ask them.
It's free now, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's part of,
If
so,
someone-
like the.
Right, but if you have questions, right, so if you have questions now, ask. If you think of questions later, right, send a note, send an email to Bobby, she'll assemble them. We'll get the answers to all of them, we'll post them on the website, let people know that the answers are on the website, or email it to everybody like we do some of the other stuff. But if you have questions now, ask, yeah.
But process-wise, at some point, I hope soon, we will go to a vote so that then with the architect, we can spend some of that money if the owners want to move forward.
Yes, that would be the next step, once all these questions at the moment are
On the
in.
setback of, things and all that kind of stuff. The question for the owners right now is, should we move ahead with a project that is in this budget as long as it's below what we said the special assessment would be? We need to vote on that sooner so that we actually might do this.
Correct, so those are the next steps. We're waiting for, are there any, we're waiting for more questions. No, we don't have a motion yet. Right,
That's what an
so,
owners meeting.
right, so we're still taking the questions. The next, I guess I'm not gonna talk about it now. So that would be the next step. We would need to have a board meeting. So I get here, let me sort of jump to a little conclusion here. So I heard a lot of positive vibe about this.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that makes me feel good. I think it makes everybody else feel relatively good, that I sort of feel like we should probably move forward with this. So we will have a board meeting. We have to give proper notice and all of that. So maybe we can even have it later in the week, where basically the only agenda item will be to adopt a motion that says we should move forward with sort of this conceptual plan, subject to we'll write the motion exactly, and that needs to go before a unit owners meeting. We have to give proper notice for the unit owners meeting, we have to send out proxies, limited proxies, whatever they're called, and go through all of those sorts of things, and then have the vote to move forward. And then if that's all approved, then we'll continue on with the next step in this, which are basically more detailed drawings, more detailed pricing, sort of budget, right? We put together a finance or funding, I want to call it a funding committee that can look at reserves and other options. If you don't want to, if the assessment, how are we going to collect the assessment? Or do we need banking arrangements for people that don't want to pay the full loan amount, the full assessment in one or two assessments, however it gets decided. So there's 1,000 other things we have to do, but the next step would be our board meeting to come up with a motion, and then owners meeting relatively soon thereafter in accordance, as far as the rules go.
So it's likely to happen in the next 30 days that we would.
That
be able
whole
to
thing
go through those
was
steps?
likely, I'm not guaranteed that they actually can happen in 30 days, but yes.
If approved, who selects the contractor?
So we select the contractor,
Who is we?
Board.
the board,
Okay. The board
the
selects.
building, yeah.
The board selects.
The board selects the committee.
But I would suggest a committee interview some contractors and present a recommendation to the board,
Yeah,
as
we
opposed
can
to
do
the
that.
board doing that.
So it's a committee that,
Well,
The
no,
board
no,
will
the
make the
board
decision.
I
decides.
know, but the committee is the one making the recommendation to the board.
Well, somebody's got to, and the board.
Right. I mean, like, right, so as a practical matter, right, we're not just gonna go, we don't have a lot of, I don't think there's anybody here that has a lot of expertise in working with large commercial contractors. Todd has a lot of experience with that, and so we would look to him for suggestions. That's where we got the Magnum Builders that put together the initial proposal. I imagine we would look at them, maybe one or two others, to sort of get some competitive bids around that. But yeah, the board decides.
Okay, thank you.
So,
My point was, the architect should make that recommendation. as
Yeah.
you said.
right, I don't want him working with somebody that he hates, just because we pick
Well,
him.
he's protecting his work too.
Yeah. All right. So we'll set up the boards, we'll leave them here. I'll work to set up a board meeting later in the week, and then write up a motion. We'll have the overall meeting for approval. Any final questions for Todd and Nicole?
Just one.
Something, what could be done with the ceilings, the ceiling design to make it a little more contemporary than it is? Can we change
Yes.
the piecing?
Right now, we're removing the ceiling and replacing the ceiling. That is part of the project.
With what?
Right now, what's in there is an acoustic ceiling, but they make large format acoustic ceilings that we're looking at right now. Something that we can put maybe linear slot diffusers in instead of these larger air conditioning diffusers to try to conceal
Yeah, right.
some of the air conditioning.
It's a good question.
Scott, when will this be on the web? Yes,
So,
everybody can
right,
view
so-
it. And can we encourage people
Yes, we
that
will,
weren't
and we'll
at the
let,
meeting to-
and we'll let know that that's been posted. My hope would be that we can do that tomorrow, since we've never, however, let me give a little caveat there, since we've never really done this before, right, there's gonna be, you know, okay, how do we get it, how do we get it up there, can we upload it, is there enough room on the website, all of those sorts of things, so there's some logistics that have to happen, but we would post it, the plan would be to post it tomorrow, my guess is if it's there, today's Monday, probably by Wednesday at the latest.
And we could email everybody a link.
Right.
So they could just click on the link
Right.
and get to it.
So that would be the plan as well, so, and we'd leave the stuff down here.
How's this all fit with the architect's schedule of events?
He's just sitting around waiting for us to decide. Great, good. All right, so, I know, thank you all very much for coming.